Hi, Abraham.
We are.
I'm very nervous. I'm very pregnant, so I'm out of breath. I'm a psychologist in private practice, and I use your work every day. And consistently, what I have a hard time with is exactly what you just talked about, having people get how worthy they are. So my question is, how do I, not only for myself, but for my clients, have them see their subconscious beliefs or have those become evident so they can move past those?
Well, you don't have to do that because law of attraction does that. In other words, what we would do, whether you say it to them or not, some are ready and some aren't, just know yourself about law of attraction. Know yourself about how this all fits together, how it all works. And then set them up for successful experimentation. In other words, there's not a shred of evidence to the contrary of what we're expressing here. So when you say to someone, if you want something and it isn't coming, it's because you're not completely lined up with it. And then you follow some processes or exercises to help them get more lined up with it. You can bet the farm on the fact that the universe is going to show them that alignment. You just have to get across to them that they're getting what they're thinking about and then encourage them to change their thoughts. It's a very simple thing. If we were standing in your physical shoes, we would ask them what's important, not hard to do. That's what they want to talk about. And then we would sit with them and conjure, let them do most of the talking, a vision of what they want. And then we would spend time on it, maybe an hour or two. And each time you visit with them, we'd go back and revisit it again. And it is our promise to you, and therefore you can promise it to them whether you do it openly or not. The universe is going to start to show them evidence of that alignment. You have a cooperative universe that's giving you an indicator of what you're doing vibrationally. So when you have a hands-on attitude that I'm going to offer thoughts on purpose and then I'm going to watch what comes from those thoughts and feelings that I've conjured, it doesn't take very much attention to that before you prove to yourself that the universe responds to you, and that's the only way that we've ever seen that anyone can ever begin to feel worthy. When you want stuff and you can't figure out how to get it to come, that's why you don't feel worthy. You think somebody's depriving you of it, and when you find out it's you, then the subject of worthiness goes away and the subject of sloppy thinking is what's on the table. And now you can do something about it, you see.
So when you say processes to get them, that's just having them picture in their mind and getting really, really clear about what they want and over and over and over. Because what I'm seeing is like, if they say, okay, I want to have money, then subconsciously the belief system comes in, I'm really not worthy of that, I'm really not worthy of that. And sometimes that's stronger than where they're going.
So here's the way we tell that story. So they say, I want money. So they write down the subject of money. So it's like picking up a stick that has lots of money on one end and not nearly enough on the other. And the way they feel is the end of the stick that's activated. So talking about money and activating that lackful end of the stick doesn't improve anything. So here's a process that begins to soothe that. And money is a thing that most of them are talking about. It's the next book that we are writing right now. It is Law of Attraction and Money. Because money interfaces in your experience in so many different ways. So say to them, what is it that you want? And they would say, money. And then the first exercise that we would offer is, all right, money. Have them write it down. And then say, and why do you want money? And they'll say, because I don't have enough. And you'll say, but why do you want the money? Mm-hmm. And they'll begin talking about they want a bigger house, they want a better car, they want more clothes in their closet, they want to travel, they want a greater life experience. And then what you're wanting to evoke from them are feelings of why they want more money. So what would that feel like? What would it feel like to drive that car that you're asking for? Well, would it feel more secure? I would feel confident. That's what you're wanting to evoke from them. You're wanting to evoke from them emotional feelings. You're wanting to evoke from them the feeling tones of the money. That would be your greatest role, if you could get them to talk about what they want and why they want it. Why? And every time you ask why, what you're reaching for is why? Because I would feel better. Why? Because I would feel more confident. Why? Because I would feel more worthy. Why? Because I would feel more exhilarated. Why? Because it would feel really fun. And as you hold them in those kinds of conversations just a little bit, what happens is that stick we talked about begins to turn on its fulcrum, and this end of the stick that has the money begins to be the more actively dominant part of their vibration. And right before their eyes, we're not kidding you, things begin to happen. Money begins to flow. They'll start coming to you. They'll have stories to tell you. And when they leave, you want to say to them, keep your eyes open for things that are showing up like that, because I expect, tell them, that you're going to begin to see improvement right away just from the work that we have just done. And then you really take care of a lot of things at once, because not only do they begin to discover that the universe is yielding to them and that now they're allowing what has already been yielded, but they begin to get that other thing that they really want, which is at the heart of the question. You said it already. They want to know their value. They want to know they're loved. They want to feel worthy. You see, of all of the things that all of you know when you are source energy and as you come forth into this physical body, is that you are the center of a universe and that all of the universal forces are queued up to give you what you want. You know that so emphatically. It's the strongest tenet of your being. And when you're standing in the absence of something you want, that defies that intense knowing. And that's what the feeling of unworthiness is. The feeling of unworthiness is I'm being deprived, or I've deprived myself, or someone's deprived me of my natural legacy. What they want to say is, well, then where's my stuff if I'm so worthy? And what we want you to understand, that feeling of being the well tended to recipient is something that you have to learn to allow. You all knew it when you came, and it's been sort of trained out of you as you've moved along. And now you're, through processes, training it back into them.
Can I ask a question about that then? Why do most religions teach you that? This original sin, you're born and there's something very damaged about you. Why do so many religions, well, Christianity in particular, teach that fundamentally as soon as you're born, there is something very wrong and unworthy about you?
We're reaching for kind words. Part of it is because in your physical orientation, it's the what-isness that our friend was talking about, the what-is-itis. It's that what you're observing feels so real. And in your coming together and in your comparative experience is necessary because you have to know what you don't want in order to give birth to the new idea of what you do want. But in your comparative experience, early on, you begin trying to please them rather than closing this gap. And that religion is just a further extension of that. It goes like this. When I see you do that, I feel good. When I see you do that, I feel bad. So let's find a way to control the behavior. So it really is not so different than a bunch of people saying, if you want to be part of our club, then you have to do things that make us feel good when you do them.
Clear.
And so we'll be so bold as to say that religions, as you have described them, we don't believe they are all that way, but those religions that are that way as you have described them have been perpetuated by people who are disconnected from who they really are.
That makes sense.
As you get within the essence of religions, in other words, someone said to us the other day that Eastern religions are saying that wanting is not a healthy state of being. And they're saying, so Abraham, you keep telling us that desire is the calling forth of source energy, that it's the basis of the attraction of the eternal beingness that we all are. So how could there be religions that are saying that wanting is wrong? And we say, because someone wisely observed that they wanted something, that they were beating the drum of the absence of it. And in beating the drum of the absence of it, they didn't feel so good. And when they felt that they had found a way to stop wanting it, that discomfort went away. But we want to say all they did was release resistance. It's the releasing of resistance that you're all reaching for, not the releasing of desire.
I have a friend that's very Buddhist, and I'm always like, well, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? And he's always like, I'm at peace. And that makes sense, what you just said. It's more about being at peace.
But we want to go there for a minute, because when you use the word want, there are some who would say, I want, meaning I don't have, so I'm wanting for it.
Right.
And in that case, you would be focused upon the absence of it, which means you cannot move toward it. When you make peace with where you are, you automatically turn and begin moving toward what you want. So there is validity in that. In other words, at the heart of so many of these religions, there is that which is identical to what we speak. But things get so distorted in the physical environment. There have been endless physical beings like Esther who have tuned to the vibration of Source and who have expressed accurately man's relationship with that which is Source. Every one of you has the ability to do that, and you have guidance within you that helps you to know that. But then over time, as people then read the books that have been written, there is distortion. In other words, Jerry and Esther see it all the time. Someone will take a piece of what they've heard here and then apply something to it that does not fit at all, that takes it totally away from the integrity of the laws of the universe that they understand to be, you see. And so that's why we're encouraging all of you to find your own connection with your own source. So you can feel if this thought in this moment lines you up or not, allows the extension of who you are or not.
The question I have, it's a personal one. When I get into relationships, the first thing I do is look for what's wrong in the guy. And I continuously do that. Do you have a process that you could recommend? Maybe perhaps just looking at what's best in him all the time, but it's just an automatic response. Probably that's the answer, isn't it?
What we're encouraging you to do is leave the action aside for just a little bit while you use the power of your mind to line up with what you want. So it really is as simple as this. Let's say that you're just planning that sometime not so far from now you will see someone, and you're beginning to talk now that this time you want it to be different. By the time you meet this next person, you want to be in the place that it is easier for you to see the positive aspects than the negative aspects. Right. So then say to yourself, and I'm going to start practicing that everywhere I go. I'm going to practice it in the restaurant. I'm going to practice it with my clients that are coming for counseling. I'm going to practice it relative to other things. And as you practice it relative to other things, then you will have pre-paved. You will have got yourself into the vibrational habit of it. And then the universe will line you up by law of attraction with someone who is ready to present to you the aspects that you're looking for. A very good affirmation is, today, no matter where I'm going, and no matter what I'm doing, and no matter who I'm doing it with, it's my dominant intention to look for what I'm wanting to see. And friends, there is freedom beyond description if you could pull that off. Because what that's saying is, I'm tuning myself to what I want to see, which means the universe has to deliver to me more of that. It's hard to be surrounded by what you don't want to see. It's normal not to feel good when you're not letting yourself be who you really are. That's normal. That's guidance. That's guidance telling you you're looking at something different than what you want. And so right there, while you're looking at it, you can do something about it other than ask him to change. Because the vision is there, and there's plenty in this vibrational escrow that is contained right there in that person, right there in that employee, right there in that client, right there in that segment of the universe. Right there, there's plenty in there that matches this. You've just got to go on the treasure hunt and find it. And when you do, you've matched your vision, you see. And that's how you have your cake and eat it too. That's how you line up with who you are. That's how you be true to who you are. That's how you find true integrity with who you are without offending everybody else. And it's how you keep moving from place to place, person to person, face to face, in order to find what you want. That was really good. Good time for a segment of refreshment. We are complete.